If you watched Parks and Rec, you know Jeremy Jamm, the guy who just seems to exist to make everyone's life harder. We've all had a Jeremy in our lives. So how do you lead with empathy and grace when someone is actively working against you? Let's dive into what it means to be for others no matter how they treat you. If you've ever seen Parks and Rec, you know exactly who I'm talking about. Jeremy Jamm is the guy who opposes everything, antagonizes everyone, and thrives on being a thorn in your side. As a leader, we've all faced Jeremy Jamm moments, working with someone who constantly challenges you, ignores your efforts, or makes collaboration nearly impossible. I remember when I was traveling around and I connected with this young leader, and I believed so deeply in him. He had so much potential, but something was clearly holding him back. So I sat him down and asked, "What's going on? What's holding you back?" He opened up and shared that his leader at his home restaurant had it out for him. He felt like his leader took credit for all of his improvements to the business while throwing him under the bus when things went wrong. It was obvious how frustrated and disheartened he was. So I decided to challenge him. I asked, how can you shift your mindset? What would it look like to be for your leader? And how could you help them be successful, even if they're not treating you the way you deserve? Now, he didn't really enjoy that challenge. I could tell it was something that he really didn't want to hear. But to his credit, he decided to give it a try. It took time for his heart to fully embrace being for his leader, but as he committed to the process, things began to shift. Eventually, his actions started to change his leader's opinion of him. They began to work well together, and what had once been a strained relationship became one of mutual respect and collaboration. Here's the thing. Leadership isn't about winning arguments or proving people wrong. It's about showing up for others, even when they don't make it easy. Why is it so hard to be for others who aren't for you? When someone behaves like Jeremy Jamm, dismissive, combative, or unkind, our instinct is to push back or avoid them altogether, but reacting emotionally doesn't really build trust or resolve issues. The young leader I mentioned earlier was understandably frustrated and felt stuck in his one-sided relationship with his leader. He didn't know how to navigate a dynamic where his efforts were dismissed and unappreciated. The challenge I offered him wasn't easy to hear. It's hard for anyone to hear, myself included. Being for someone who seems to have it out for you is never easy. It was a difficult shift for him to make, but his willingness to change his mindset and attitude is a powerful example for all of us when we deal with challenging people. True leadership means rising above personal offenses and choosing to respond with empathy, focusing on the bigger picture. What does it mean to be for others? Being for others means prioritizing their growth and success, even if they're not making it easy. It's about leading with empathy and understanding what might be driving their behavior. One of the best examples of this comes from President Abraham Lincoln. When forming his cabinet, Lincoln chose Edwin Stanton as the Secretary of War, even though Stanton had publicly criticized him and once called him a long-armed creature. Most people would have avoided working with someone like that, but Lincoln saw beyond that personal insult. He recognized Stanton's talent and knew he was the right person for the job, even if Stanton wasn't exactly kind to him. Over time, Stanton grew to respect Lincoln deeply, famously saying after Lincoln's death, "Now he belongs to the ages." Lincoln's decision to focus on Stanton's potential rather than his personal slights showed true leadership. Being for others creates opportunities to turn difficult relationships into productive ones. It shows your team that leadership isn't about personal pride. It's about serving a greater purpose with integrity and grace. What is the impact of leading with empathy and grace? Choosing to be for others, even the Jeremy Jamm types, creates a culture of trust, understanding, and collaboration. Take Leslie Knope and Jeremy Jamm from Parks and Rec. Jeremy Jamm was the ultimate thorn in Leslie's side. He opposed her at every turn, belittled her ideas, and actively tried to derail her progress. But instead of retaliating or shutting him out completely, Leslie consistently chose to show up with empathy and grace. She always looked for ways to understand his perspective, even when it wasn't easy, and found moments to connect with him on common ground. Over time, her consistent efforts chipped away at his hostility, and while Jamm didn't transform overnight, there were glimpses of mutual respect. Leslie's example proves that when leaders rise above pettiness and treat even their harshest critics with dignity, it sets the tone for others to follow. Leading with grace builds stronger teams and establishes you as someone who leads with integrity, even in tough situations. This week, think about one of your own Jeremy Jamms, someone who challenges you. And how can you show up for them this week in a way that prioritizes the bigger picture? Remember, it's not easy, but it's what great leaders do. Being for others, even when they're difficult, is one of the toughest but most rewarding challenges of leadership. It's about showing empathy, staying focused on the vision, and leading with grace. So, who's your Jeremy Jamm, and how have you approached that challenge? Share your stories in the comments below. I'd love to hear how you navigated it. If you like this episode, don't forget to like and subscribe. And next week, we'll dive into the lonely road, and you won't want to miss it. Peace.